0.68 seconds was tempted to talk about Star Trek Into Darkness. Abe.
As I tell my girlfriend, that's an eternity.
So here we are live once again. As you know, Abe, I had my wisdom teeth taken out last week, so I'm still recovering a little bit, but I am persevering for the sake of the show.
You mentioned that once or twice that you had your wisdom teeth pulled.
Go fuck
once
yourself.
Or twice. But yeah, cool. How you doing?
I haven't been bitching about it that much, have I?
No. I mean, it's you. It's a life event that occurred for you, so I'm going to know about it, of course.
I'm getting a little self-conscious now.
I'm just messing with you.
So note to self.
Right.
Talk too much to Abe. Yeah. Stop talking to Abe. That's the lesson that I'm learning from this. Fine. I'm going to have like major surgery next time and not tell you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I wonder where you are. It'll be weird. I need a co-host for the show when Dan's in major surgery.
So there you go. Send your applications to Abe.
There you go. It always comes back to that. Even on the old site we used to be on.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what you're talking about. There was an old site?
Yeah, well, there's been a couple for you, my friend.
True enough.
Yes.
I get around.
Okay.
You know what's not helping though is this weather, and I don't know where it's like in New Jersey, it's like 65 degrees one day, and then like today it was 10. It was 10 degrees.
It's doing that again.
What do you do with that? What do you do with that? 65 to 10.
I have no idea. It's just so wild. Yeah, it's the same way here. You know, it's nice out one day and then it's freezing rain and snow the next. It makes me feel sick. I get sick.
Have you had any extreme weather yet?
Yeah, we've got a little snow and ice.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But it was so mild up until that point.
Yeah, we haven't had any snow yet, which is weird because you would expect us. It's January. Northeast. You'd figure. I remember like one year, like on Halloween, we got snow.
I do remember that too. They canceled it when I was a kid.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. It was horrible.
Cancel. Halloween is ruined.
It is.
You should have just dressed as a snowman. That would have been your Halloween costume.
I should have. I didn't.
Or you should have just built a snowman and put a little Halloween bucket in his hand and had people come to your house to leave candy.
I like that idea, actually. If they bring candy to me, I like that idea.
They're starting to do that now. They have like these people that like walk down the street handing out candy to kids.
I've heard of those people, Dan. I've seen their vans. Yeah.
Oh, we're off to a great start, but we got a great show lined up this week. We're going to be joined a little bit later by Ronald D. Moore. He was the guy that kind of created Battlestar Galactica, Outlander, shows like that. Did a lot of work for Star Trek.
A lot of work for Star Trek.
A lot of work for Star Trek. I guess our main discussion point this week is going to be Star Trek First Contact, which he wrote.
Oh.
So I think it's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah. I've been following him from Next Gen to Deep Space Nine, and then the little bit of Voyager, and then Battlestar Galactica. Awesome.
So you're familiar with his career?
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah. I used to listen to his podcasts when he was talking about behind the scenes with Battlestar Galactica. It was pretty cool.
Oh, very neat. So yeah, we'll have him on a little bit later. But first, let's talk a little bit about Star Trek First Contact, and we can get in a little time travel machine right now and go back 20 years because it's 20 years old. 1996 it came out, and I guess it was the first, as we call it, pure next gen movie. You would call it that, right?
Oh yeah, there's no more Kirk, no more.
Right.
Check off Scotty.
And it did a great job of proving, despite the future movies disproving, the fact that you can have a next generation movie that could survive without Kirk and Spock in them.
Yeah. It did well. Yeah. There was a little anxiety on my part. Could they pull it off? Because, Generations wasn't that great.
No, I saw it in theaters. I had a blast. I really, really enjoyed it. And you yourself, I would consider you a Trekkie of sorts. Like you follow all the Star Trek shows. You're very well versed in Star Trek knowledge.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't always idolize the universe they live in, but yeah, you're right. I know a lot about Star Trek. Yeah.
So I would just basically say that, this was kind of an event for you. Did you go see it in theaters?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was there opening, that Friday night to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
What'd you think?
Oh, I loved it. I loved
Yeah.
it. It was a whole lot of fun, and I mean the Borg are just probably the best villain they could have used for the movie. Period.
I totally agree. I think I was a Next Generation show watcher. I
Hmm.
did. Yeah, I watched the original, episodes, the Kirk and Spock ones, and I liked them. They were fun. But I would say that I more got into Next Generation Deep Space Nine. I think that was kind of my territory of where I really watched a lot of it. I wouldn't say that I'm well versed in it. I didn't say that I've seen every single episode of it, but I watched enough of it that I knew Borg, pretty serious bastards. They're going to be in this movie. It's going to be awesome. And other than like I guess classic like Klingon, like I never got the big deal about the Romulans.
No,
Romulans. You're just angry Vulcans is what you are.
that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Seriously. You can't even be your own person. You're just like, we're Vulcans, but we're mad. The Klingons had their thing. They're pretty awesome. But the Borg, I would say, is the top, right? They're the top of the baddies in Star Trek, and to see them on screen and with a budget behind them,
Oh yeah.
where they can actually do cool prosthetics and cool kind of like gadgets and guns and shit like that.
Absolutely. And we got to see the little battle too between the ships, which
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So I really enjoyed it. I had a blast seeing it. Our whole show is based off of talking about movies that we love, revisiting them, giving them a rewatch after some time, and it had been a while since I've seen this, and I had fun. I had fun. I had some issues with it, but of course, overall, I had fun with it. What about you? What did you think on this latest viewing?
No, yeah, I'm with you. I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. It still holds up. It really does. The special effects still hold up. The story's interesting enough, and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Okay, well, let's get into that. Let's
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
break it down. Like we'll kind of break it down into I guess say 5 sections, and we'll start with the plot and the writing. Which I mean, we're gonna have Ronald more on. We'll talk to him more about this
Yeah,
later.
right.
But concept of time travel. Yeah, I'm always wary about time travel. Always wary about time travel. Time travel is one of those things that you can either do right or you do incredibly wrong.
Right. Yeah.
I felt that this did it right.
Oh yeah, I agree. I agree. I think that the litmus test is are you just going with it, or are you going to stop and think, are they doing this wrong? And they don't. They throw out their techno babble, and that's it. We're back. We're in the past. It's all good.
Yeah, yeah, it worked, and
Yeah.
I thought it was a neat concept. I know that originally they dabbled with or discussed going back to like Renaissance times and having like the Borg take over a castle or something like that. That was like one of the earlier ideas. I'm glad that they did what they did. I
Yeah. Yeah.
don't know if that would have worked.
You don't want to see Borg wielding swords? I don't know. I don't know.
A broadsword, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Game of Borgs.
Well, if they could just destroy King's Landing, I'd have been perfectly happy.
That would have solved a couple of your problems.
Yeah.
But I mean, plot wise, overall plot wise, you thought it was a good plot.
Yeah, it is a good plot. If I do have an issue with the plot, and I don't even know if it's the plot. It's more the theme. The Picard's obsession with the Borg. I think that they didn't really do a good job with that. It doesn't really show up until the very last third of the movie. His burning obsession with the Borg, causing him to make bad decisions, doesn't show up until the end of the movie. I think if they had put some seeds in the beginning to show where he was, I think that would have gone a lot better and have been a little bit more powerful.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. Now, do you think when he decides to send the Enterprise to battle the Borg, was that a decision that he made because it was the right decision, or was it a decision that he made because he wanted revenge on the Borg?
I think, okay, just in the context of the starship captains that we followed in Star Trek, They always break the rules when shit like this goes down.
I think it was the right decision.
Absolutely,
I don't
yeah.
think it was motivated. I think
No.
I think that's the point. Is I don't think it was motivated and I must get revenge. It's if we don't show up, everyone's gonna die.
Right. I agree with that. So yeah, I think that goes to my point.
Right.
The Moby Dick stuff does not come into play until the end of the movie, until like I said, the last third. And if you eliminated the whole part from the film, nothing changes. Picard pretty much would have still done everything he did, except have an argument with Lily and smash smash his display case.
Smash his little ship.
Ensign Lynch might still be alive if
Maybe.
if they didn't go that route, but that's about it. And that's my one problem with the movie, really.
Yeah, and I think maybe it relied a little too much on the fact that the people watching the movie more than likely watch the TV show.
Well, yeah.
And that's kind of one of my pet peeves about almost when they try to integrate the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. into the Marvel movies. I don't watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. at all.
Yeah, I've never seen any of it.
So when it's like, people are gasping in the theaters like, oh, no, they didn't. Like, because something happened on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and they're showing it on, I'm like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Right.
So I wonder if there was a little bit of, we don't really need to get that much into this with Picard because you already kind of know what's going on with him from the show. That said, let's kind of segue into the next section, talking about the acting of it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel, and this is something I want to talk with Ronald about too, do you feel that the Picard that was in this movie was the same Picard that was on the TV show?
That's always been the argument.
Right?
That's always been the argument and the debate among Star Trek fans. And I mean, some of them will even go to the point of what happened to Picard? What caused him? Is it PTSD from dealing with the Borg? Is it PTSD from being in the Nexus? Man, I don't know. I can see what they're saying. He's not an action star, but he definitely acts like one in the movies. I think it's actually not that far off.
I don't think it's that bad.
No,
I don't think so either. And the fact is, like, despite his looks, he was a young man at the time.
Yeah.
He looked like he was 70 at the time, but he was a young man at the time.
Yeah.
And if you've seen pictures of Patrick Stewart now, dude's ripped.
Yeah.
He's so ripped. And he looks the same as he did 20 years ago.
Yeah,
So
he's
that's
not
one of those things that benefit you when you you look old when you're younger. If you just stay the same, then when it's like, wow, you're old, but you still look the same. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it is. And if you want to talk about Picard not being Picard, we'll do an episode on Insurrection one day. But I think we're okay with First Contact.
I think we're good with First Contact for sure. But acting wise, I think that's one of the things that Next Generation is kind of been known for is the acting, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Good actors, a good ensemble cast, working well together. I thought the dialogue was really good. I thought they had some really good character development. Diana had some great scenes.
Yes,
Integral scenes.
Yeah.
Riker, not to say that he took a step back, if you will, but I mean he was directing the movie, so
Right.
I don't think he wanted to be on the screen all the time. But some great stuff. I think overall the acting was solid. That said, do you feel that there was maybe a step back from that ensemble cast that we were so in love with on the show?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's the trappings of a film compared to a TV show. The TV show has time to explore all the characters. The film is obviously going to be very plot driven, and characters kind of, especially when you have that many, they're going to fall by the wayside. Some of them, yeah, they're going to get one or two good scenes, and the rest of the cast is going to. Well, not the rest of the cast. Data and Picard are going to step to the forefront. Everybody else gets pushed back.
It really was their movie for the most part. And, I get it. Like, originally Riker was supposed to be the action guy fighting the Borg on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
But it made sense for Picard to be the one fighting the Borg since he had the history with the Borg.
Absolutely. Yeah, it does make sense.
Yeah. And you kind of need to split those two guys up, because not to say that they're the same character, because they're not. Riker and Picard are not the same character, but they're both leaders, and you need one leader there up and one leader down.
Yeah. it makes sense. That was their dynamic in the show. Riker takes the away team down to the planet. Picard stays on the bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes sense. I can go with that.
Yeah. Overall production. That's our third kind of topic here. We're talking about the production, special effects. For 1996, overall, we're good.
Oh, yeah.
I think probably a few years away from being great.
Yeah, that's just... they were just on the...
Right at that cusp.
That border, yeah, where they would have gone all digital. Yep. Yeah.
And I think that kind of hurt them a little bit in regards to the scope of what they could have done. You know,
I agree with that. Yeah,
a couple more years.
I think they stretched the budget probably as good as they could. I mean, that was an awesome little battle.
Yeah, and the fact is that they were able to reuse a lot of the sets and the costumes for the show. Mm-hmm. Like all those Borg costumes, they're basically able to just reuse.
Right.
I think that's cool because it's like, well, yeah, it's budget to the movie, but you're basically helping the show keep its budget down.
Yep. Yeah. Help out Voyager. Lord knows it needed it. No, but yeah, I agree with you on that. I think the costumes were pretty good. Yeah. The sets, it was a little drab. It's a little drab, I think the sets were. I don't know. I'm not a fan of this Enterprise.
Yeah, did you like this Enterprise? You didn't like
this?
No,
I don't like this Enterprise. No. I'm sorry to say. It's of the Enterprises, it's one of my least favorite. Yeah.
And it didn't blow up.
It didn't blow
up. Spoiler.
Not yet, yeah. Oh boy. You know what's really good though, if we're talking about the productions and everything, the music. I want to talk about the music. This soundtrack is phenomenal.
Yeah, some good stuff.
Yeah, I really, really thought the soundtrack was a home run.
Yeah, between the actual score of the film and then the songs that they used, because hey, perfect segue. Let's move into favorite moments. One of my favorite moments is when they're launching the shuttle, and it's like no, we can't do this. We can't. It's like abort. He's like no, we're good. Pops in the music. It's Magic Carpet Ride,
Yeah, that's a really good one. I agree with that.
I really enjoyed that moment of the film. I think it's one of my favorites. What about you? Favorite moments? What's one of your favorites?
Oh, my favorite moment in the film is Worf saying, "If you were any other man, I would kill you where you stand."
Because he would.
He would, yes. Worf's pretty much killed almost everybody that's called him a coward. So yeah, that's awesome.
I think, honestly, like if something like that came up like earlier in the film,
yeah,
showing Picard like I don't know, like Worf saying something and Picard calling him a coward earlier in the film, and then you're like, whoa, he's going crazy right now because you don't call Worf a coward.
No, you don't. No.
That could have been one of those earlier seeds, but then you kind of needed Worf to help him out throughout the rest of the film, so you don't want to really piss off that guy. Piss off the Klingon who goes into his awesome hand-to-hand or, kind of hand-to-hand, literally hand-to-hand around his leg.
There you go.
Fighting. I like that scene. It's kind of silly.
The deflector dish scene where they're fighting. Yeah. It is a little silly. Yeah.
A little silly, but I like it.
I like it too. If Worf had been on 2001 when Hal went at him, he'd be just fine.
That's it.
He wouldn't have killed him. Yep.
Let's go into our last topic because I know that people are just they want to hear from Ronald more and we'll get him on the line soon. Let's go into our final topic. Let's talk about where this movie fits in the franchise of movies. Where do you rank? We don't have to rank them all.
Oh, okay.
No. Where do you think this fits in all of the movies?
It's definitely top third. Yeah, it's probably right up there with Wrath of Khan, Motion Picture, Undiscovered Country, kind of those little bunch together.
It's definitely top 5, maybe top 3.
It's right up there. Yeah, it's so hard to tell.
It's
a bunch.
It's definitely the best next gen.
Oh, hands down. Yeah.
Do you find that interesting though? You think of the Star Trek movies for the original series to overall be better than the actual series. I'm not trying to knock the series here, right? But the movies themselves stand on their own much better than the overall series does. The series tends to get that, especially from like a more, like general audience is, well, the original series was campy. And it necessarily wasn't all the time, but
No.
that's the kind of general perception of it.
Right.
But then the films, they're actually really good sci-fi films for the most part.
For the most part, yeah, I agree with you.
You know,
It is interesting how it's almost the inverse of each other. It is interesting.
right? Yeah.
I give that. I credit that to just Next Gen being such good sci-fi. And honest to God, when a TV show is rocking, unfortunately, most of the time, a movie can't compete with that.
Right.
A movie can bring the scope and a sense of epicness to it, but a TV show that's really rocking will always trump a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. You know what? I think that's enough of us talking about this film. Again, I enjoyed it. I still enjoyed it upon rewatch. If you haven't seen it in a while, watch it. It's fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's not just for Star Trek fans.
It's not. I don't think so. Let's just take a quick break right now. When we return, I promise you, Ronald Moore is going to be on the line with us. Stay tuned.
Joining us on the Movies and Stuff show, co-writer of Star Trek First Contact and so much more, his current show Outlander can be seen on Starz, Ron Moore. Ron, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, absolutely. It's my pleasure.
I guess let's start with that, if you don't mind. Outlander just seems like it's such a beast of a show to oversee. And, you've written or produced for Star Trek Next Generation, Deep Space Nine. You've done Generations, First Contact, Carnivale, Battlestar Galactica, Caprica, Helix. You've done so much on and on and on. But yet, Outlander still seems like the biggest in scope you've worked on. Is that, you find that to be true?
It's probably the biggest. I mean, Carnival was probably a close second. They were both big, sweeping period pieces. Outlander just presents a lot of unique challenges because of the nature of the story itself, in that it travels, it goes from place to place, it picks up characters, it drops them, it shifts locations radically. The first season took place exclusively in Scotland. The second season goes to Paris and then returns to Scotland. It's just a very large production to sort of get your arms around, both in the story and just the logistics of actually producing it on the ground. And you're doing two period pieces. You're doing the 18th century, and then it has a foot in the 20th century as well. So it's it's a pretty complicated show, but it's great.
Yeah, I'm totally looking forward to season 2. Yeah. But right now we're really talking First Contact, and it's a 20th anniversary in 2016. So that's really exciting. Yeah. And I don't know if I should say this, but I have read Pillar's unpublished book, and the hoops he had to jump through to get script approval on Star Trek Insurrection was really eye-opening. So I'm assuming that you had to jump through hoops, or you and Braga had to jump through hoops as well. You've already done Generations. You're working on Deep Space Nine at the time, so presumably you're a tad busy. Did you both jump at the chance to write First Contact, or did you have second? Maybe not.
No, I think we both signed up pretty quickly. I think both Brandon and I think I can speak for him in this regard, felt that the Generations was a very difficult movie to write and to get our arms around as writers. It was our first feature. It was the first transitional movie of that cast into features. We were sort of presented with a big laundry list of all the things that had to happen in that movie. And it was just a hard movie to make, and a lot of scrambling, a lot of rewriting, and it didn't turn out as well as I think any of us wanted. So when the opportunity came to do First Contact, we did kind of jump at it because we wanted to get it right. We wanted to have a better experience, and we wanted to do a better movie. And it just was. I mean, it has been 20 years, so I'm sure my memory is rosy to a certain extent, but we were. I know that we did have more of a blank sheet to start with. It wasn't like a big list of requirements that had to be in that movie. So we could just sort of start over, and we could just sort of approach it, fresh and say, okay, what do we want to do? What kind of movie would we like to do? And it was just a freer sort of experience overall. Working with Jonathan Frakes was really easy and great. The script did go through quite a bit of story changes at the early drafts, as I recall. But once we sort of figured out what the movie was, it really wasn't that difficult. I don't think from our point of view.
Yeah, and it's amazing. And to me, First Contact is definitely one of the best Star Trek films, and it's certainly my favorite one. It's just a great concept, and it's cool to hear you say that you had this blank slate really to work with. Now, how did that central plot idea that of the movie come about? Like, what was kind of the inspiration to say this is the movie we're going to make?
I think there were a couple of different things going on. One was we came around to the idea of who's the big villain in the next movie? Oh, let's do the Borg, because we had sort of stayed away from the Borg, in the TV show. We'd done a couple of episodes here and there, but they weren't big time villains, and as a result, they had a certain mystique to them at that point. So we sort of said, yeah, let's do something with the Borg. I think Rick Berman was interested in doing something with time travel, and then separately from that, Patrick in particular, I know, really liked that we did an episode of Next Gen called Starship Mine, where he was alone on the Enterprise and had to sort of fight for his ship in a sort of a Die Hard kind of scenario. Kind of talked about how much he liked that and enjoyed that. And I remember us sort of saying, hey, we should, Patrick's always wanted to do this sort of, Starship Mine thing. Maybe we should go back and combine elements of that. So we kind of moved that into the plot to a certain extent as we developed it. Originally he had the story that was what we kept calling we kept referring to downstairs and upstairs in the story. Downstairs on the planet was more Picard, was downstairs dealing with Zefram Cochrane and the ramifications, how to make history repeat itself and all that. And then upstairs, the Enterprise was being taken over by the Borg, and Riker and company were up there. And Patrick he really liked that Starship Mine paradigm. So at some point, we just kind of switched them and said, okay, let's put Picard upstairs and put Riker downstairs. And so that's kind of how the final piece of the structure sort of came about.
That's really cool. And I got to say, I think one of the coolest parts about First Contact is we really got to see some Borg versus Starfleet action on the screen. I thought that was awesome. But I've gathered from the way other people talk, who I guess have read earlier drafts or something, I don't know, that maybe it was going to be a little bit bigger. The fights, like more Borg cubes coming at Earth or being destroyed. Was that budgetary, or was that you trying to keep the Borg from being diminished?
I don't recall if there were multiple cubes or not. That could be, but that's stretching back a little further than my memory. I mean, it was definitely bigger battles overall, and it was all reduced for budgetary reasons. The big fight over Earth was a much bigger battle. The interior fights aboard the Enterprise were bigger. They were just more elaborate, much more, run and jump and bigger explosions. And the truth was, Paramount did not spend a lot of money on the Star Trek movies in those days. They had a very sort of rigid template. They kind of said, Star Trek movies make X amount of dollars, therefore the budget will be Y. And that was kind of what they handed you. And like, oh, well, that's a lot of money compared to what we did the TV show for. But you just quickly found out that the cost of everything at the feature level just cost you more. So we were still sitting around production meetings and arguing about, how many phaser shots could be in the scene. Well, 10 phaser shots. Can you get away with 5 phaser shots? And you sit there and you're like, trading and dealing. And well, if I make it 7 phaser shots, can I get the transporter effect, on the next scene? I mean, it was madness, and it was exactly like being in a TV production, which is what we did day in and day out. And you went to the feature world, and it was the exact same conversation. And so if you really look at First Contact, you'll see that the actual number of phaser shots, whether outside or inside, are kind of limited because we were trading them. We were trading them like cards, like trying to, how much money each visual effect. We were literally calculating each individual shot and some visual effects budget of how many we could afford, how many ships you could blow up at the big battle, how many photon torpedo shots. It was such a pain in the ass.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Oh man. And you touched upon this a little bit earlier, just talking about Picard's kind of more action hero type-esque mentality in this film, and there's some fans that kind of debate whether it was true to his character on the TV show. Do you see it? Is it the same Picard TV show to movie, or did you have to write it a little differently? Was it acted a little differently for the film as opposed to how he would do it on the TV?
I would say the emotional arc is definitely rooted in the TV show. Everything, it was very much about his experience as Locutus, how that affected him psychologically and emotionally, and carrying forward those feelings into the film, and his struggle with all that felt very much like an outgrowth of everything we had done in the series. The action adventure stuff was certainly pumped up to a level that you never saw on the TV show. Patrick wanted to do it and liked to do it, and had been looking forward to doing something like this. And I think he always wanted to do it in the TV show, but the constraints of the television budget were such that you just really couldn't do very much like that on what we did week in, week out. You just didn't have the time. Shooting action scenes where he takes his shirt off and grabs onto the rope and goes up to the top of engineering. It's great shots and they look really cool, but they take an enormous amount of time to set up, and we just never had that kind of time on the TV show. So I think Patrick would have liked to have done it, all through the show, but we just didn't have the wherewithal to do it.
And I love talking to writers on our show, and one of the things I love to do is just trying to get into their headspace, get a sense of how they approach writing a movie or writing a show. And some people that have been associated with Carnivale have just kind of felt the writing process was akin to like fighting as a gladiator. Now, do you really think that the Trek writing was really that harsh of a writing room?
Oh, I wouldn't say it was harsh. I think it was it was combative. I mean, you went into those rooms, and we were very tight staffed, both at Next Gen and Deep Space. You spent hours every day with the same group of people. You got to know each other really well, and you had pretty passionate arguments. But we all, in those days, we all still kind of laughed and enjoyed each other's time. We spent a lot of time socially with one another as well. We all went to lunch together. You were like brothers and sisters and friends, or you were mates. You just hung out, and the arguments could get pretty intense, but you were arguing passionately about something that you really cared about. I mean, Carnival was different. Carnival was a divided writer's room that genuinely did not like each other. Half of them really didn't like the other half. And that was a different situation. That was much more difficult as a showrunner to deal with. It made for an unhappy. It was the most unhappy room I think I've ever had in my whole career. And it was very atypical, because typically, you put these people together, you're all in the same boat, and you're trying to make the best show you can. You're all invested in everybody's episodes. You want the show to be as best as it possibly can be. And, everyone just kind of gets along. You always have personalities that scrape against one another now and again. But, you all kind of work it out, and it all becomes, you're there to do something bigger, and you just all invest in the show.
Awesome. Another show that I love that you had a little something to do with was Battlestar Galactica. And I think the thing that really, really interests me about that is if I go into a forum or Reddit or something and I say, hey, everybody, let's talk about All Good Things, the last episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. Everybody is going to say, oh, it's one of the best finales in TV history. And that's over. But if I go into the same room and I say Battlestar Galactica Daybreak, a debate will instantly spark up. People will be arguing about the episode's place in the series. Which one of those actually is more gratifying as a writer? The universal acclaim or the debates?
Hard to say. They took place at such different moments in my life and in my career. And, one I was the showrunner of, bringing it into the story. The other, I was someone who was brought in, who had been with the show a long time and was writing it with a partner.
Yeah.
When we did All Good Things, Brandon and I didn't even expect to write it. We thought Michael Tiller was going to do it. That was the assumption on the show, and Tiller just kind of abruptly handed it to us one day, to our shock. And we were doing Generation simultaneously. And we just kind of tossed it off, and like we just like banged out All Good Things in a very short period of time, and we'd spent like a good solid year working on Generations, and All Good Things just kind of worked, and Generations didn't. So it was one of those great ironies. I don't even remember the writing of All Good Things very well because we were so in the trenches, and it was so intense with that in the movie, and just trying to make it work, and it was just hard. It was really like, oh my God, are we ever going to finish this? And Daybreak, did by myself. It was a much more emotional investment for me in the show and personally, because I was running the show and I was bringing it to a conclusion, and it was tying up a lot of different plot threads that we had established over the years. Whereas All Good Things is really still a bit of a one-off. It's still kind of an episodic story in and of itself, even though it's definitely touching back to the pilot and other little threads along the way. Next Gen by its nature was an episodic show, and Battlestar was much more of a serialized program. So they were very, very different. I mean, for me, I really liked Daybreak. When I watched it again a year or two ago, when my son finally watched the series, and he and I watched it together, and I was very proud of it, and I still was moved by it. And I think it's a proper ending to that story, and the fact that I think people still argue about it. I wish that there was universal acclaim. Everybody loved it. Absolutely. I'm sure I do. But the fact that people still care enough about it that they will argue about it is good too. I'll take that, and I'm happy with it, and I have no regrets about it. And I feel like it's a good piece of work.
Another thing that tends to get argued about as well, especially in science fiction culture, is Star Trek versus Star Wars. Of course, big things happening in the Star Wars universe. I'm not sure if you're aware of some things that are happening, but one of the things that you were working on potentially was a show for ABC, and you worked with George Lucas on it. How was that experience, working with Lucas?
It was an amazing experience, and it actually wasn't for ABC. It was George was going to do the show himself. It was a similar process to when he did the Clone Wars TV show. He basically just produced, a whole bunch of Clone Wars episodes and didn't show them to anybody, didn't pitch them to anybody, basically finished them and then went to a network and said, here it is, take it, please. And he wanted to do the same thing with the Star Wars live action show. He didn't want to deal with networks. He didn't want to deal with studios and development and all that kind of crap. And he didn't need to. He was richer than God. He could do whatever he wanted. So he basically got a group of us in sort of an international writer's room that would assemble every 6 to 8 weeks over the course of a couple of years. And some players kind of came and went, depending on their other obligations. And we would meet at Skywalker Ranch, and we would sit and break stories with George, for full days. And it was amazing. It was really, he was quite a character. It was really interesting and funny and strange. And, it was a unique experience. And I'm just really happy that I got to do that. I wrote a couple of episodes, a couple of scripts. I think we wrote like 40 some odd scripts.
Wow.
For the show. And George wanted to write them all ahead of time, so we wrote them all, and then he said, okay, we're going to stop here, and then he wanted to go off and explore various production, how he would produce it, where he would produce it, how much it would be. And then we would kind of hear that periodically, that it's still a little too expensive for what he wants to spend. He's trying to figure out, where does he want to do it, and what auspices he would do it under. And, time passed, and then next thing you know, I read in the paper, he's sold Lucasfilm lock, stock, and barrel to Disney. And I never heard anything about the show again until I literally read Robert Iger, who's the head of ABC, just mentioned casually that he had all these scripts and that I had written one of them. And because of that mention, suddenly everybody keeps asking him for a Star Wars TV show, because it was never part of ABC. It was just sold, to Disney,
right,
and it ended up with them.
That's probably where my brain went. Yeah, I probably just instantly thought ABC because it's just been in the news lately. Yeah.
Yeah. So are those scripts dead, you think, or there's any chance they could revive those scripts for a Star Wars TV show? Because there are rumors that ABC is curious about a TV show. Have you heard anything about that?
I have not. I've heard various rumors. I'm sure Disney is placing a huge bet this universe, and I'm sure there are discussions going on about potential TV shows, but who knows?
I gotcha. We've also had William Sadler on the show before, and we asked him about Sloan, and he loves Sloan. And
Sloan was great.
I kind of asked him about Section 31, but I want to know your thoughts. Is Section 31 a necessary evil inside the Federation's kind of hug it out mentality?
That was always the question in the room. We always wanted to play with that very question and never really wanted to give it a definitive answer. What we wanted to say was that an organization like this would exist even in a utopian-esque organization like the Federation, that this will happen. This kind of thing will happen because there are people that believe that we haven't gotten far enough, that we have to go outside the law in some areas, we have to do the things that no one else will do, and someone has to do the dirty work, and all those sorts of reasons and rationales would eventually, create an organization like Section 31, and the debate would never end about whether it was a necessary evil or an abomination. It just would be.
Would you feel more secure with Section 31 or without one, if you're a Federation citizen?
That's a hard question. I mean, I think you would have both. I feel on one level more secure with the National Security Agency, and I abhor it at the same time. I think these are difficult questions.
Right.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's hard to. The civil liberties part of my heart tells me, they should not exist. They should not do what they do. It's wrong. It violates the principles of what we're supposed to stand for. And yet there is a part of you that that is frightened by events in the world, that see things happening, and you hope that out there somewhere in the cloak and dagger world, somebody's out there trying to keep the world safe for democracy. So it's hard. I think there are no real clear answers to that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. Well, we don't want to take up too much more of your time, so just the last question. I want to know, what's more likely to happen? Miami Dolphins win the Super Bowl, or you're back to work on a new Star Trek TV show?
both those are extremely low probability. Extremely low. You could get really good odds in Vegas on both those properties.
You've been so much fun to talk to. It's been a delight.
Well, sure, it's my pleasure.
Thanks a lot, Ron. Good speaking to you.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Well, that was pretty great, man. That was pretty great.
Yeah, no, that was a lot of fun. And man, like for everyone that was watching live, we were doing some live chatting, and ballsy question, Battlestar Galactica finale.
I had to ask something about Battlestar Galactica.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, I could have asked more questions, like was Starbuck an angel, or was I think he would have sidestepped that question though. I think
that I think there's a time and a place for it. I always feel weird because we tell these people, it's like, well, here's the main focus of the show is going to be Star Trek First Contact, right? Here's the main focus, but then we just end up asking a whole bunch of other things as well.
Yeah,
so.
We kind of walked that line this episode.
Oh, it was half Star Trek,
yeah,
and then half everything else.
And if anybody's curious, his favorite team is the Miami Dolphins. That's why I asked.
Yeah.
He took some shit for wearing Dolphins gear during the writer's strike.
No, very cool. I was so glad that he joined us. Very, very, very cool. He's kind of an icon in the sci-fi community.
Oh, absolutely.
And he's continuing his work. Outlander right now is it's a huge scope of a project. Season 2 starting up any month now. I think springtime. So that'll be that'll be something that he continues to work on. And I don't know. He said no chance that he works on a Star Trek show.
No chance.
No chance. Zero
chance. Yeah, I can see that.
So we'll see. You got anything else?
That's it. First Contact's a lot of fun. I'm glad we got a chance to revisit it. Maybe we can do another Star Trek movie someday. We'll see. Into Darkness, Into Darkness is still out there. You know.
Hey, a couple weeks we're gonna have Douglas Trumbull on,
Oh.
so maybe we can talk a little motion picture with him.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's right. So, man, Douglas Trumbull. I mean, 2001, Blade Runner, Star Trek motion picture, Close Encounters of the Third Guy. You know, like this guy. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Right.
2 weeks. We're gonna have him on live Tuesdays, 9 p.m. Eastern. That's what we do from now on. This is gonna be awesome. Tuesdays, 9 p.m. Eastern. Catch us here on YouTube. You know what? You follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, find us on Twitter. Heck, send us an email, add you to our mailing list, whatever. Just come, hang out, watch these shows. Next week, we got an episode we're going to just do like a sci-fi month. I don't know if I discussed that with you, but we're going to do a sci-fi month.
Well, thanks for telling me. Yeah, that was nice of you.
Next week, we're going to count down our top 10 favorite spaceships in sci-fi film and TV.
The Enterprise E will not be on there.
How do you know?
I don't know. Okay, I don't know.
Probably not. It's not. It's not. It's just not going to be on there. No, so we're going to do that next week, Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern. And then the following week, we're going to have Douglas Trumbull on to talk about 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Very cool. Very cool.
Very cool. Abe, I regret some of the things I said to you earlier. Final words.
Final words. I'm going to go get 3 shots of something called tequila.
Works for me. Later, man.
Bye-bye.